basically, I'll do this in exchange for that. Now, believe it or not, you can still do this today through the form of volunteer exchange work instead of traditional 9-to-5 jobs. Basically, you can go to workaway.info and you search for a volunteering experience that you would actually find meaning and purpose in and apply for it. It can be volunteering at a hostel, helping the family with their kids, walking dogs, anything. In exchange for generally a chill 20 hours per week of volunteer work, your host provides you with free food, accommodation, and in some cases, even...
My personal theme is your job is to try to secure your future. This initial solution does not help secure a future, just the present. Once the people don't need or want you anymore, then it's worse than being fired here, since you now need to get back on a plane and go back to America. So you need a plane ticket to get there and to get back. Geez, this is a very short-sighted but still a decent solution for resume padding.
A small stipend salary. For young people, especially, the free accommodation alone makes this a far better option, even economically speaking, than wage slaving away 60 hours a week only to see your entire paycheck be eaten up by your rent alone. Since you don't have to pay for the expensive transportation cost to get to and back from work and the insane cost of rent and food in the West, you'll find that you'll actually save up a lot more money volunteering 20 hours a week than wage slaving away for 60 hours a week, because your living expenses are so much less. But more importantly, this gives you more mental space and free time to find your purpose. Financial issues aside, it's just not possible to find your purpose and escape this meaningless nihilism when half of your day is spent either working or dealing with work-related activities such as commuting. So while you're volunteering, try to spend your free time figuring out what is it you want to do in life and what makes you happy and gives you purpose. I can't answer that question for you.
Did he ever suggest that roommating? It would be odd that this guy suggests going to a foreign land, living with strangers to be taken care of like a kid, but somehow it's a horrible idea to share an apartment in your own country. There are other customs in other countries that just might not seem right to you. So if you have an issue with roommates in your own country, this suggestion is just way off logically. The idiom "up the creek without a paddle" totally describes the person that takes this given advice. Now, I don't know how you can't find your purpose because you have a job and travel. Going back to the cashier, right? During the travel ride, you can listen to your podcast, meditate, look at the surroundings, think of what you can change. During work, you can interact with people, see what you like about them, what you hate about them, what troubles do they have, what can you solve, what you have in common. Moving to another country and effectively being someone's adopted kid isn't going to help you anymore, right? When I was on my ride to work, I used to pass through a neighborhood, right? Several streets of higher value homes. That got me something to think about and trying to achieve. Not everyone can think of angry thoughts or be jealous just because someone else got something. A lot of these videos about about being angry, about others having something, the presenters would, if they would just change their mind from "they have, I don't, I'm angry" to "they have, how can I get that?" then they would have something to work for. Change from the scarcity mindset to "where can I find this?" type mindset. It doesn't auto give you that thing, and you may never get that thing. What it would do is give you a focus on something, and that something is not anger and time wasting. When I was in the hospital, I got a bill for being in the room for $125K, which is half of $250,000. Just have to say it like that, just because it's $1 million and people recognize that to be a lot. Besides saying, "Oh, why is that much? What were they doing just for it to cost that much?" What came to my mind was, how can I get that much for renting a room? Sure, I'll never own a hospital room to rent out, but I'm not angry about it. They did do a service, and sure, it costs a lot. However, I have to move forward.
for you, but I have shown you a way you can position yourself to have the mental time and space to figure it out. The broader solution. Okay, so volunteering can be a great solution for you individually speaking, depending on your circumstances, of course, but there's still a fundamental problem with this on a broader, more macro level. I'm sure someone in the comments will ask, and rightfully so, but if everyone takes your advice and does this, won't that just oversaturate the volunteer barter market and make it impossible to get a job there too? This is a fair question to ask, and the answer to that question is yes, and I'm glad you asked that because this is...
Great. You know how a free market works. There is no director saying we are going to have 500 developers and 200 HR staff for the whole country. Companies will open a position, and we are assuming not those dead ghost positions, and each company is hiring for what each one thinks is the number of what they need for that position freely. People will see the amount of open positions for that type and go for the skills for those said positions freely. When positions are filled and the results, which is customers' use, goes down or not at expectation, then those positions are now realized to be not needed. The companies will release those people, those workers, freely. The people will look again for what next, for like what is next in the hiring, right? Freely. Just like that volunteering thing he had talked about, that is the market cycle, right? Just like stocks. Things are hot and then they're not. It's always the customers, the people, that chooses what is going to be purchased or used. If you curse companies for this hiring and firing flow, you would have to curse people for having free choices too, in which I wouldn't do.
Exposes the fundamental problem with the broken modern day system of forcing people to work. As a millennial, when I was growing up, our delusional boomer parents kept forcing the...
No one is forced to work in a free society, in a free capitalist society. The hiring-firing cycle is not a problem. Everything has a pro and con. It's a result of a free market, which is better than a forced market.
Idea of college onto us, much like they probably did to you as well. Their logic was that in their time, everyone who got a degree got a good job as well. What they overlooked was the fact that degrees guaranteed a good job back then, specifically because not everyone had them. If everyone now has a degree, that's not going to guarantee everyone gets a good job. It's just going to make a degree itself less special and less valuable. As a result, millions of millennials ended up working jobs that didn't even require a job or a degree in the first place. College degrees became oversaturated. Now, I would have thought that they learned their lesson.
Totally agree with that sentiment about the degrees now are not what they were before. There's not much for the older generation to learn about degree use though. It's the current generation that needs to adjust. The advice about getting a degree is not inherently bad. A specialized position might need some degree or certificate still. A career might need a degree. There are other jobs that might not need one, like hospitality. Then there are jobs that just don't need one, like his example of a cashier. However, what older person would tell you to get a degree to be a cashier? No. He's not being forthcoming with his situations. He's overly exaggerating and making scenarios that are not realistic. I know this is a way for him to make his money for his views. People do gravitate to the negative type views. If a person only takes this type of view in, then that person would not have a balanced type of view or mindset of this situation. However, this goes back to the free market talk. What you view is free for you to choose. In one stage of life, you will consume okay boomer content. In another stage, you will consume okay, let's see how I can apply this content. Yeah, I don't know what's the opposite of okay boomer. All right. For instance, in your youth, like when you first start working in your 20s, an older person will tell you to start investing in your 401k and choosing your healthcare stuff. Someone in their 20s ain't got no time for that. They get to spend that money on fidget spinners or lava lamps or or Furbies or whatever Zers spend money on. And they are young and actually they don't need healthcare until when they do. When they get into their 40s now, oh no, I don't have money for retirement. How much do I need for retirement and how do I get started? This attitude is nothing new. I'm assuming every generation did this. The younger ones always know more than the older ones until they don't. As much as we want to get in a groove and don't want much change, life is not like that. We see tech change and we get so excited. But how about all those workers that just wanted to work on the same thing over and over again? Well, we don't care. So why should anyone care if we just want to do the same thing over and over? People's interest changes. Their demands changes. Companies have to change with those demands, which means they need to adjust their work staff and the focus as needed. That means we have to change as well and learn whatever skills that are currently in demand. It's not a bug, it's a feature of the free market.